Hi, welcome to another episode, number 33 of CultureWatch Radio. I'm Andrew Smith, and with me is Bill Muhlenberg. Bill, the Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency has an important job: the management of registrations for doctors, nurses, and other health professionals. But lately, you don't have to be a naughty person to get their attention.
Well, yes, Andrew, it's become a worry. It's politicized medicine, actually. What we have is, instead of investigating the real deal, a doctor found guilty of embezzling funds or attacking a patient, now if a doctor happens to say the wrong thing on his own private social media pages, the powers that be can hound a doctor like this right out of business. And we sadly now have cases like this in Australia. I know some personally here in Melbourne.
Bill, just Tuesday night in Brisbane, Dr. Robert Brennan, he was speaking and he had just received his note from APRA.
Today, and forgive me if I'm a little bit less articulate than normal, today I received my APRA notice of complaint that I have to answer to, with threat of deregistration, of course. So I consider this talk, and I'm looking down this camera now, a mini referendum on free speech. If I lose my registration, I'm going to make sure that every single Australian knows that when they go into their doctor's surgery, there are three chairs. There's theirs, there's the doctor's, and there's a third empty chair. But no, it's not really empty, because in that chair sits the government, watching, controlling, censoring. And if there comes a day when the reputation of the medical profession falls into disrepute and becomes untrusted by the public, you can blame the government.
Bill, it does sound a bit totalitarian, and they're going after people already.
Well, certainly are. This is not North Korea. This is not communist China. This is what was once the free and democratic nation of Australia. But yeah, we see this everywhere. Here in Melbourne, we've got doctors going through exactly the same thing for simply sharing their politically incorrect points of view, say on the social media or in some publication, not in any way impacting on their role as a health professional. They can be gone after and effectively given the boot. In fact, I believe we've got one here today that we can talk with ourselves.
Yeah, on the line, introducing Dr. Jareth Koch.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Jareth, describe the moment when you first received, out of the blue, this notification from APRA that you suddenly were under investigation, despite doing nothing wrong, and you had to immediately stop seeing patients and discontinue earning an income.
Yes, that was actually almost 2 years ago to the day now. It was in August 2019. And I was actually, I was at work, I was in my consulting room. I got a urgent phone call from the lawyer who was helping me at the time. And he said, look, I've got urgent. And it was on a Friday afternoon, around about 3 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, late in the day. And he said, look, I've got a very urgent call for you, Jareth, and a very bad one. The medical board has actually contacted us today and said that they propose to immediately suspend your registration and remove you from practice. And you've got 4 days to respond to that. And I had maybe 2 or 3 more patients to see that day before my day was wrapped up, and I somehow managed to get through those consultations. It was very stressful, but I managed to do it, and then I had to go on and face this thing.
Yeah, and what did it do to your patients?
Do you mean me being removed from practice?
Yeah, I mean, suddenly they would not have had a doctor anymore.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. and that's the thing, you know. There's a lot of things about this that are bad, but the thing that I think makes me most upset and angry is the effect that it had on my patients. You know, I had hundreds of patients very loyal to me, and you know, many of them elderly, complicated, lots of medical conditions, who I'd looked after for many years, and all of a sudden I was gone, and I can only, you know, imagine how difficult that would have been for many of them. Just in the weeks immediately after I was suspended, two elderly patients of mine died. I learned of that, and the two elderly men, and I looked after their wives as patients as well, and I wasn't even able to speak to their wives about what happened, and you know, wasn't able to comfort them, wasn't able to provide ongoing care to them, you know, that kind of thing, and you know, many other patients who saw me regularly, and you know, I think, you know, I think people really rely on their doctors quite a lot, when they're, especially when they're older, and for these people to be suddenly having to scramble around, find a new doctor, explain their entire kind of story to those new doctors, I think that's really difficult, really unfair, especially because they'd done nothing wrong. Even if, you know, even if they think I'd done something wrong, well, the patients hadn't done anything wrong. Anyway,
yeah.
Yeah.
Jareth, speaking of the patients that never done anything wrong and they're purely innocent in this, has anything ever been found that you have ever done anything wrong in your practice as a doctor?
Not to date. Not to date. They haven't been able to show that I'd treated anybody rudely, improperly, or negligently. They try to argue at one stage that I was providing substandard care to LGBT patients or something like that on the basis of views that I'd expressed, but you know, they had to withdraw that allegation because it just simply wasn't true, and there was no evidence to back that up. So, everything I'm in trouble for is to do with things that I've said outside of work in my own time, things that I've said, written in an article, written on a blog, on Facebook, views that I've expressed, and they're not to do with anything I've done at work with my patients. You know, none of the patients have complained. Nobody from work has complained. So yeah, it's unrelated to work.
Yeah. Bill, you've written about Jareth this week on the CultureWatch website. It does look like the medical authorities don't like doctors who've had a bit too much to think.
Yes, certainly. That's the case. Well, it's not just, of course, the medical profession. It's all over the land at the moment. It could be in politics, education, you name your sphere. Political correctness, woke culture, cancel culture has now so heavily dominated everything in the West that, yeah, those who dare to think differently, who speak differently, who have a different point of view to the reigning secular left narrative, they are always at risk. They can lose their job at the drop of a hat. They can be fined. They can sometimes be thrown in jail. I've been documenting these cases for years and years now. And I hate to say it, but the other side, they talk a lot about love and acceptance and tolerance, but they are not. When it comes to actual practice, they are not. In relation to this article I just did about Jareth Koch, I got a lot of comments in, mostly supportive, but a few of the hardcore secular left absolutely venting their spleen. One guy in particular said this guy should not be allowed in public. He should not be allowed to practice medicine or anything else. He's, totally disreputable, and, he is, it's dangerous to have him out there. So I'm thinking, what is wrong with this guy? If he were laying in the gutter, right, broken arm and leg, somebody came up to help him, would he first say, wait a minute, are you a conservative? Are you a Christian? If you are, don't you dare touch me. I mean, that's how bizarre we have things right now with the hyper haters of the secular left, that if you have any kind of Christian or conservative background, you're effectively should be banned from all of public life. So this is scary stuff. It impacts all of us who dare to think differently. And somebody like Jareth certainly needs our prayers and support.
Yeah. Bill, we'd better get in and support him and help him before they then come for the rest of us. What's the best thing that we can do to support him?
Well, yes, as I just said, prayer is always good. That moves mountains, but we need feet on our prayers as well. Mind you, there is a Christian crowdfunding site called Give, Send, Go. And so thankfully they've allowed Jareth's case to go up there, raising money, because now we need to help pay for a legal team to defend Jareth. Of course, these things are not cheap. Even though they're offering their services at a discounted rate, it costs a lot of money. So this Go Fund type page on Give, Send, Go is helping Jareth Koch in his legal appeal. The good news is around 200 people have so far given, which has resulted in about a quarter of the funds that he needs. So, right, if the rate like this continues, another 600 people giving this same way, we can reach the goal of the financial amount needed so that Jareth can have hopefully a successful legal defense at this trial. And what we're all hoping for is after 2 years of being out in the wilderness, he can hopefully get back into medical practice.
Yes.
Just to explain what's happening, I've been suspended for 2 years, haven't been able to practice medicine. I was removed instantly because I was perceived to be that serious a threat, I guess, to the world. But now I'm being put on trial, so I'm being brought into court effectively. Charges, I haven't been told what they are yet, but I'm going to be charged with certain things, and I'm going to be prosecuted, as it were, and I need to have a defense. I need lawyers, barristers, and so on to defend me. So that's the situation. That's why we need, that's why I'm fundraising, because I need to be able to pay for the lawyers and barristers. They're not cheap, and I haven't had very much income at all for a couple of years. So that's what the fundraising's for.
Yeah, and it's nobody listening would have enough personal savings that you could go without your earning money in your profession for 2 years and then have money left over, let alone the ability to take on a court case. So there's no question that people need to get in and support this effort financially. There's plenty of information, and we'll keep you on track with this at the Culture Watch website. And we'll see you again next week with another episode of Culture Watch Radio. Subscribe where you listen at SoundCloud, YouTube, and Rumble, so you don't miss a thing. And for those who are following us on YouTube and Rumble, we've got a link to the donation page in the details.